Lesson 99 is called Exponents and Signed Numbers, and you might be saying, well, I remember what exponents are, and I certainly know what a signed number is, plus or minus whatever number. What could possibly be new? Combining these two concepts will be a short lesson, but one that will help us avoid some simple problems that seem to happen way more often than they should. Maybe at first you don't recognize the difference between the left expression and the right one. One is the opposite of 4 squared. One is negative 4 squared. They're going to come out to very different amounts, and let's talk about why that is. First of all, negative 4 squared, or we should maybe call it the opposite of 4 squared. 4 squared is, of course, 4 times 4, which comes out to 16. Opposite means it's a negative 16. Read this as the opposite of 4 squared. Versus when we have parentheses, we keep the negative 4 inside of itself. So negative 4 times negative 4 is what? Positive 16. We've used our negatives. There's nothing left to do. This is a final answer for this one. So while it's just a little sign, the difference between these two in this case is 32 on the number line. 16 to get to 0, and then another 16 to make it positive. So we want to be very careful. You can read this one, negative 4 squared, if that helps you. Negative 4 times negative 4. Putting this together into an algebraic phrase like negative, we should say the opposite of 4 squared minus negative 3 squared minus 3 cubed, I guess, or the opposite of 3 cubed. How do we break this down? Well, we know according to PEMDAS that we need to first look at for parentheses and symbols of inclusion. We see some right here. We simplify within these parentheses first. This is negative 3 times negative 3, which comes out to 9. Now we've eliminated the square. Notice what's still there. There's a negative sign there. So it's the opposite of negative 3 squared. So we keep that negative. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, we have negative 4 squared. It's not in parentheses. If we wanted to show parentheses, they'd be around the 4, not including the negative. So do 4 times 4, which is 16, and we still have this negative. If the negative is not inside the parentheses, you do not factor it into the operation of the exponent, and you leave it there to affect the number positive or negative after you've operated. Finally, what do I do with this one? Here's your last test. We've worked our way left to right. We're on the exponents side now. Do your exponents. If there were parentheses, where would they be? They'd be here. So 3 times itself 3 times. 9 times 3 is 27. What's still hanging out there? This. We have not factored in. It was not negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, which in this case would not be any different because it's an odd exponent. Now we have 3 negative numbers. Let me just check the book. Yep, that's the way they did it too. You subtract that out, comes to opposite of 52, or negative 52. In this case, start with your parentheses. I see parentheses here. They have an exponent to the third. Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, if that helps you to show that, at least in these beginning stages. Negative 27, it's negative, not because there's a negative out here, but because it's an odd exponent, and it's going to end up, odd number of negatives is an odd number. Skip this for now. Look at this. We have a negative 2 times itself 3 times. If you times a negative 2 by itself an odd number of times, will it be positive or negative? Odd number of negative signs means negative, doesn't it? Negative 2 to the third is 8. Follow me? That was the answer for this. Meanwhile, they've also thrown us this. If it was a positive, we wouldn't need to show it, but it's a negative, so we do, which is going to, of course, cause this number to change its sign. Then finally, 2 squared is 4. Put it all together. Don't forget that negatives become pluses. Negative 27 plus 8 minus 4 is negative 23. The numbers hadn't changed that much from last time, but we had some new things to consider. Notice if I rewrote this problem to be exactly the same, but we just did this, that's not the same problem. This comes out the same, this comes out the same, but right here, because we don't have a parenthesis, this is just 2 cubed is 8, right? That's this part, and then this is a negative sign. So we'd get a far more negative number. We'd have a bigger number there. So watch out and make sure you're factoring these parentheses correctly. It's going to come in handy. This is not from lesson 99. I'm just looking ahead for you. This is going to come especially in handy when we start putting numbers in for variables in an exponent. Anytime you plug in a variable, we're told always show parentheses. That's where y goes, and this is where x goes. Meanwhile, we had this, right? Don't forget parentheses. Okay, this is the same problem, but parentheses in for y, parentheses in for x. Now plug in, what is x? X is 2. Plug in y. Y is negative 2. Same problem as before, but see, if we didn't put parentheses here, everything would have to change. And when you plug in a number for a variable, you include parentheses and try to make sure you're keeping your exponents with your sign numbers straight so that you have a negative 27 minus a what? Negative 2 times itself 3 times is still negative minus a 4 squared. Sometimes it doesn't really need it. In this case, it really did. Okay, so make sure you're showing parentheses when you're supposed to. For now, you're just making sure that if the sign is inside the parentheses, you're doing negative 2 times negative 2 is 4. If the sign is out of the parentheses, or there is no parentheses shown, so either of these are negative 4, because it's 2 times itself, and then you put in negative 4. Show me practice problems. Problem set 99 for next time.